in terms of raw intelligence, you'd be surprised at, from where it comes. It doesn't always come from the attachés in Vienna. It comes from travelers. For example, the warning about the mobilization of the Bohemian Corps with headquarters in Prague came from a colonel who was at Carlsbad taking the baths. And he noticed it while he was there, and of course he telegraphs back. And other messages come from, the Russians have consulates. They have one at Prague, they have one in Vienna, and they have one in Budapest. And this, so you're getting a lot of information fed in about the course of this mobilization. So this being the case, what I say on the back page when I talk about what kind of conclusions can you draw, the kind of conclusions in my view that you can draw is number one, and I can't remember the order that I put those in, but that the Russian decision to mobilize was much more of a conscious one, and I think Mark Trachtenberg, in both his article and his book on this matter, which is part of this huge historiography over the origins of World War I, was quite correct in saying, no, this isn't something the diplomats and the main political players didn't understand. They understood full well what this meant and all of the implications, in my view. In part, that is because there's another set of materials that I found in the military archive, and again, just stumbled into it going through rolls of microfilm, and that is the daily intelligence situation reports that are actually fed to the Tsar. Starting as soon as the crisis starts, the general staff, its intelligence, its special office, its intelligence section composes daily periodic sit reps telling everything that's going on that they know of in Germany, Austria, Hungary, and anything else that's of importance. As far as I know, no one has seen those. No one has bothered looking at them. And oh, by the way, they're interesting because they also have the police surveillance reports from all of the foreign embassies, or the pertinent foreign embassies in St. Petersburg. So you can see that they'll say at 8 o'clock in the morning on such and such a day, the Austro-Hungarian chargé, went to the telegraph office. He returned a half hour later in a rush. And they stayed there. They stayed in his office for 2 hours, and then telegraphic traffic came out. So many telegrams were received. So many were dispatched. And of course, the Russians had about 16 people inside the Black Chamber at the telegraph office in St. Petersburg, who were, of course, busily decrypting all of these telegrams, or not all of them, but the majority of them. Now the question is where does that take you? Were the Russians reading the mail? And one thing in the Foreign Ministry archive, they have all of those decrypts on file. And I went through a bunch of them. But I didn't go through these July 1914 ones because they would take a huge amount of time, and I'm saving that for another visit. And also, my feeling is they're not going to reveal anything very dramatic because I think everybody knew everybody was reading each other's mail, including one of the most irritating things you'll see is from 1904 up to 1914, the Russians are reading our traffic. For Norman, are reading our traffic. They've got the codes busted. And the other thing is, for those of you that don't believe in foreign language learning, German is a secondary for me. I haven't used it very actively for years, but on the decrypts, folks, they don't translate them. They're not translated into Russian because the Tsar can read German, English, and Russian, and French. So you've got to have a pretty good grasp just to go in and use those archival materials. But the interesting thing is, as opposed to U.S. stuff, if you're used to the U.S. archives, the one wonderful thing is when you're dealing with Nicholas II, it's always possible to know what he read and what he didn't read. And that's very important because you start taking shortcuts in the archive, and generally when I'm pressed for time, I will read only the things that Tsar has read. And the way you find that out is he leaves a symbol in blue, a red pen that looks like that. on anything that he reads, and sometimes, like Stalin, you know, he'll write marginalia. So you can tell everything that the Tsar read now. One of my colleagues says, well, with what effect? Well, he's a pretty intelligent reader of these materials. He's obsessive with intelligence. He follows intelligence, you know, like a sports fan follows ESPN. It's just there. He has a great interest in it. And now he's getting in July 1914, in the July crisis, he's obtaining the situation reports, which are amalgamated reports from all of the military, and he receives the reports from the Ministry of Foreign Affairs separately from Sazonov. And that's because we have these, what I call stovepipes, you know, they don't talk to, oftentimes they do, but sometimes they don't talk to each other very well, but that's another subject. So in my view, the flow of information is telling me that the decision to mobilize is a conscious decision. It's not something that Sazonov and the others weren't schooled on. It's not something that Tsar didn't understand the full implications of. I think one can dismiss that argument, and that's an important argument that Trachtenberg, for example, discusses in his work on mobilization in 1914, because one plausible argument has always been that really the statesmen and the diplomats didn't know what they were doing, that once they started the declaration of pre-mobilization period, and then once they went to troop mobilization, that they really didn't understand what they were doing. And I really think at least the Russians did, and I would argue so did the other major